Hello, everyone. In the world of modern ministry, few figures have sparked as much controversy, admiration, and debate as Prophet Carn, a man once hailed as one of the most anointed prophetic voices of his generation, but now standing at the center of a storm that has shaken the faith community to its core. The shocking news that Carn has finally been banned from a major church network has sent ripples throughout the Christian world, leaving his supporters heartbroken and his critics saying, "We saw it coming." Once celebrated for his fiery sermons, uncanny prophetic insights, and charismatic leadership, Carn's journey from pulpit prodigy to public pariah is a tale of ambition, power, scandal, and the unrelenting scrutiny that comes with fame in the digital age. To understand how a man once considered a spiritual powerhouse could fall so far, we have to revisit his meteoric rise, the controversies that followed him like a shadow, and the decisions that ultimately led to his banning. A decision that has left many asking whether this was divine justice or the tragic consequence of a man consumed by his own calling. Carn's story began in Jacksonville, Florida, where he claimed to have been called into ministry at the tender age of 12. A self-proclaimed child prodigy in the prophetic, he gained attention in Pentecostal and charismatic circles for his alleged supernatural accuracy, detailed prophecies, and powerful revival meetings that drew massive crowds. By his early 20s, Carn was traveling the world, preaching to thousands, and earning comparisons to great revivalists like Benny Hinn and T.B. Joshua. His ministry blended old-school Pentecostal fire with modern-day showmanship, lavish conferences, televised crusades, and prophetic declarations that often went viral. He wasn't just a preacher, he was a brand. Dressed sharply, speaking boldly, and moving with a confidence that bordered on theatrical, Carn built an empire on the belief that he had a direct line to God. But with that kind of attention came suspicion, and soon whispers began to circulate that not all of his prophetic revelations were what they seemed. The first major scandal hit in 2015, when a video emerged online claiming that one of Carn's so-called prophecies had been plagiarized from a psychic's predictions posted on social media months earlier. Critics accused him of deception, saying he had taken information from secular sources and presented it as divine revelation. The backlash was swift. Carn denied the allegations, saying that people were attacking his anointing and that those who didn't understand the prophetic realm were quick to judge what they couldn't comprehend. But for many, the damage was done. The image of a flawless prophet had cracked. Church leaders began distancing themselves, partnerships quietly dissolved, and his once unquestioned credibility started to erode. Yet, even as controversy swirled, Carn doubled down, continuing to preach and prophesy with unshaken confidence, declaring that no weapon formed against him shall prosper. But the seeds of doubt had already been sown. In the years that followed, Carn attempted to rebuild his image. He established Kingdom City Church, headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, branding it as a place of restoration, empowerment, and prophetic excellence. His loyal followers continued to see him as a man of God under attack, while skeptics viewed him as a master manipulator skilled at emotional persuasion. But the closer you looked, the more troubling patterns began to emerge. Reports surfaced of erratic leadership, financial mismanagement, and allegations that Carn demanded unquestioned loyalty from his staff and members. Some former insiders claimed that he treated his ministry more like a personal business empire than a spiritual mission, often boasting about his connections, possessions, and influence rather than humility and service. Though unproven, these accusations painted a picture of a man who had allowed fame and power to blur the line between ministry and celebrity. By the late 2000s, another scandal erupted, this time involving accusations of inappropriate relationships. Rumors swirled that Carn had fathered a child out of wedlock, an allegation that struck at the heart of his moral credibility as a preacher. While Carn never publicly admitted wrongdoing, his silence and evasiveness only fueled speculation. For some, prominent church leaders began to publicly distance themselves, removing him from speaking engagements, conferences, and ministerial networks. The once unstoppable prophet now found doors closing all around him. Yet, remarkably, he continued preaching as if nothing had changed, proclaiming that his anointing remained untouchable and that his enemies would soon see God vindicate him. The recent banning, however, represents a turning point that even Carn's defiant faith could not shield him from. According to multiple reports, A prominent coalition of churches and ministries in Atlanta and surrounding states has officially severed ties with Carn, citing moral and ethical violations inconsistent with biblical leadership. Though the statement avoided specific details, insiders suggest the decision followed months of private meetings and failed attempts to address unresolved issues of conduct, accountability, and doctrinal integrity. In other words, the church gave him chances to reconcile, and he refused. The ban effectively removes him from speaking at major faith-based events within that network, suspends his membership in several ministerial fellowships, and bars him from using certain media platforms connected to those organizations. For someone who once commanded international stages, it's a devastating blow. Behind closed doors, those who know Carn best say this moment was inevitable. Several former associates claim that Carn's downfall wasn't sudden, but gradual. A series of unchecked decisions, prideful behavior, and a refusal to accept correction. Bryan surrounded himself with people who told him he was always right, one source explained. When you start believing your own hype, you stop hearing God and start hearing your ego. Others suggest that Carn's obsession with maintaining relevance led him to compromise spiritually. Chasing viral moments and fame instead of genuine ministry, his sermons became increasingly focused on defending himself from critics rather than preaching the gospel, turning what once were powerful messages into self-justifying performances. Still, to his loyal supporters, this latest development feels like a coordinated attack. They argue that Carn's prophetic ministry has always made him a target of jealousy and misunderstanding, that spiritual warfare often manifests as public humiliation, and that his resilience in the face of adversity proves his divine calling. On social media, hashtags like #StandWithBryanCarn and #ProphetUnderAttack have begun trending among his followers, while detractors insist that accountability is not persecution. The divide between the two camps has reignited an old debate in the church world. When does defending an anointed leader become enabling dangerous behavior? And when does calling for accountability become judgment? As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Bryan Carn's future in mainstream ministry is uncertain. While he still retains a loyal following and operates independently through his own platforms, the loss of institutional support represents a serious blow to his credibility. His once booming conferences are reportedly drawing smaller crowds, and financial support has waned. Yet, if history is any indication, Carn may attempt to reframe this ban as another trial in his prophetic journey, turning his rejection into a narrative of persecution and resilience. Already, he has hinted in live streams that God is separating the wheat from the tares, and that those who left will soon regret it when God vindicates his servant. But even as he clings to the language of spiritual warfare, many wonder whether Carn truly understands the gravity of his situation. The pattern of unaddressed controversy, broken trust, and spiritual arrogance has led some theologians and church leaders to question whether his ministry ever operated under genuine accountability. Anointing without character is a disaster waiting to happen, one pastor said bluntly. We can't confuse talent for integrity. For decades, the church has wrestled with how to handle charismatic leaders who draw massive followings but operate without oversight. In that sense, Bryan Carn's story is not just his own. It's a reflection of a larger issue within the faith community, where personality often overshadows principle. If there is a tragic beauty in this story, it's that Bryan Carn's rise and fall illustrate both the heights of spiritual potential and the depths of human frailty. He is, in many ways, a cautionary tale for a generation of preachers raised on social media fame and prophetic branding, where the line between servant and celebrity blurs. His banning may not mark the end of his ministry. After all, he's reinvented himself before. For Carn to truly recover, he may need to confront not just his critics but himself, to strip away the image and rediscover the humility that once drew people to him in the first place. For now, the story of Prophet Bryan Carn stands as a somber reminder that charisma can open doors, but character determines whether they stay open. His banning from the church may be framed as betrayal by some or justice by others. But either way, it's a turning point that cannot be ignored. Whether this marks the beginning of his redemption or the final act of a ministry undone by pride remains to be seen. Thanks for watching.